Welcome to the Doctor's Life Podcast with Diane Ansari Wynn, MD. Dr. Diane is a stress and burnout coach for doctors. With her 15 years of experience as an anesthesiologist and certification as a physician development coach, Dr. Diane coaches doctors on how to live a rich life of purpose, fulfillment, freedom, and happiness both at work and at home. In this podcast, Dr. Diane brings together doctors and researchers that are experts in health, wellness, stress, and burnout, as well as doctors that have been successful in clinical practice, academics, non-clinical careers, and business to share their expertise and life experience so that you can live your own life purpose, fulfillment, freedom, and happiness. To get free access to a PDF and video of easy and proven strategies that melt stress away and keep it away, simply register at www.dianeansari-win.com. That's www.dianeansari-winn.com. Now here is your host, Dr. Diane Ansari Wynn.
Hi, it's Dr. Diane here, and I have a quick request before we jump into the show. If you like this podcast, it would mean so much if you took just a moment to hop over to iTunes, write a review, and rate the show. That is how other people will find the show and get the same great value from it that I hope that you're getting. It just takes a few moments to click a star rating and write a quick note. Now, on to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Doctor's Life podcast today. Today I am very thrilled to interview Dr. Mimi Wong. She's an amazing anesthesiologist and been in practice for almost 2 decades now. Today Dr. Wong is going to talk about a charity that's very near and dear to all of our hearts, called Mending. And we'll also talk about, as we usually do, how Dr. Wong got into practice and how she got to where that she is now. Without further ado, we'll hear her inspiring story. Welcome, Mimi, or Dr. Wong.
Thanks, Diane.
So
Great.
Glad that you're here.
Great to talk to you, yes.
Dr. Wong and I work together. We're going to talk about Mending Faces, amazing work that you're doing. But first, let's start off, if you can tell us about how you got into medicine, how you got interested in medicine. And
when I think about how I got into medicine, it's been kind of the journey that started with a family that is in medicine. My father is a physician. I have 5 brothers and sisters, of which 4 of us are in medicine as well. So it kind of was something I feel like I was predestined to be. But with that being said, there's always a choice point of when you come into medicine. Definitely being inspired by my father and knowing the hard work and the also just the positivity he got out of it and his patients. He was a neurologist in a small town, and he was very well respected and very well known. And when you see that and you're already looking up to your father, it just stays ingrained in your mind. So with that being an inspiration, I wanted to follow in his footsteps. So probably from a young age, I remember him bringing me in to the hospital with him to do rounds and just following along with him. I had no idea what he was talking about, but just to be around my father was just enough. So luckily I was good at math and science, and so when you hit the school age, if your grades can match what it takes for the competition for medical school, I luckily had what it took. But to be honest with you, it wasn't until after all of the schooling that I really started enjoying medicine, because I feel like, and I don't know if you feel the same way too, or whether I've talked to other physicians and they kind of feel the same way, that you're in it and you're working so hard, and it's all about the grades, and it's all about the competition, it's all about getting through and getting to the next level, that you kind of don't have time to stop and think about, do I like this or not? And it wasn't until residency that you had kind of the camaraderie of the other residents that are your social circle, and you're in it, and you're doing all the stuff you learned, and the physiology of it, and the anatomy, and going through residency and being with others in the same boat as you. And dealing with the patients and getting to know your patients, that's when I really felt like I had a love for medicine.
Mm-hmm. I get that, and I agree with you that it really takes you coming into your own a little bit and feeling that level of responsibility and care where it really becomes real for a lot of us. And like you said, it's not just the grades or can I make it? Like now you've already made it past that first step of getting your degree. And then the second one is residency, or I like to think of it as an apprenticeship, where you're working closely with a mentor and your colleagues. And that's where you really develop too your sense of what kind of physician do you want to be, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you really come into being your own. At least for me, that's where I felt like I was. Where I developed my personality in medicine and my style, and you know, just really loving what I was doing instead of just going from one goal-oriented academic thing to another. So, you know, again, it was the fruit at the end of the long labor. At least for me. So that's just speaking, you know, for me.
Very cool.
So
that's really cool. Did you start doing medical missions and charity work when you were a resident?
Well, I didn't. It started when I first came out after residency. I started practice at the hospital we both worked at together at Lutheran Hospital in Denver, Colorado. And it was actually very, very serendipitous how I got into medical mission work. Like I had mentioned before, you know, you have the camaraderie of residency. After a couple of years of being in private practice, I felt like I was in a little island by myself, you know, and especially, I don't know if it's for other practices or other specialties, but in anesthesia, you kind of just go to work on your own, you work in your own room, and of course you're working with the surgeons and the other, you know, medical staff, but as far as having kind of that camaraderie that I had in residency, I felt like that was missing. And then because of that, there's also kind of a support that's missing. And I felt like I was kind of falling away from my love for medicine because it just became the work. And about 5 years into private practice, one of the nurses approached me and said that she does some work in Haiti with a group and asked if I wanted to help them out and be an anesthesiologist. And I jumped it because I felt like I needed to get back into this path for the rest of my life, just thinking about being in a career and doing the work and being successful and making money and all that. I could see where I was going to get away from that feeling I had when I was a resident of really doing good work. I know that I've been given a gift, you know, and the gift was the practice of medicine and being able to take care of patients, and I didn't want to spoil that. So this opportunity fell in my lap to do medical mission work, and I jumped on it. And so I did work in Haiti for about 3 or 4 years. This would have been back in probably about 2002, 2003. And at that time, Haiti was getting a little bit less safe. So by about the third year that we were going there, we had to turn around because there was a military coup that was going on. So we had to cancel one of our missions, and that was very disappointing to me. And that group just kind of fell away. But that really gave me the bridge work and the foundation to start developing another medical mission. And at that point, I found a group that was going to the Philippines, and they didn't have an anesthesiologist. They were just going over there, and they were a very young and fledgling group and were struggling because they didn't have really the help to practice and do a medical mission over there that was very safe in my mind. So I kind of brought them up to speed and developed their anesthesia module and we were doing all cleft lip and cleft palate work. So I was with that group for about 3 or 4 years before I decided to branch out on my own and started the group Mending Faces. Would have been about 7 years ago. And when I say I started it with several other founders, including 2 surgeons that I work with, another anesthesiologist, a couple that one of them is Filipino and the other one used to be in the Peace Corps. And so with them, kind of all of us started the medical mission group that's called Mending Faces, where we do all cleft lip and cleft palate work on the indigent children in the Philippines. And the reason why we picked the Philippines is because, as I mentioned before, this couple that came on, one of them, the wife is a Filipina, her name's Donna Levine, and her husband, Jay Levine, who used to be a Peace Corps volunteer back when he was after college. was stationed in the Philippines, and so that was our point of contact into the Philippines.
Okay.
And so they had the ability to speak the language, to talk to the hospitals, to bring in the necessary governors and mayors and all that, and have that bridge work for us to be able to get into the Philippines, because that's very important. So that laid the groundwork for us. But also, most importantly, is there's a higher incidence of cleft lip and cleft palate in Southeast Asia. So there was a need. There was a need for us to go there. So that's what I've been doing ever since then. So we're just a very small organization, but every year we go, and it takes us all year to organize this, but every year we go for 10 days, which includes travel time, so it's really only 6 days of surgery, but we, on average, do between 65 and 85 surgeries in that time period. Little children anywhere from age 6-month-old to 12 years old.
Wow. How many again?
Between 65 and 85, 65
wow.
and 85 on average.
That's
so
amazing.
we are slammed that week. We run 4 tables, sometimes 5 tables, do about 5 surgeries on each table, 4 to 5 surgeries on each table, and we're working from Sunday until Friday afternoon, and then we pack up and go. And we bring everything with us. We don't leave any burden on the hospital. We bring all of our anesthesia machines. We bring all of our own surgical instruments. We bring all of our own medicines, all of our own suture, everything. So we are not a burden on the hospital. We bring all of our own staff. So we have all of our own nurses and surgeons, of course, anesthesiologists, recovery room staff, ward nurses. We have a speech therapist, actually 2 now that we bring with us, 2 dentists, oral surgeon as well. So we bring a staff of about 60 people that come each year, take time away from their work, from their families, and come and do medical mission work for a week.
Right. That is amazing, the work that you guys are doing. Tell us more then about how you're able to, I'm so curious about the logistics of it, how you're able to bring everybody together, how you're able to fund it.
Sure. Well, we are self-funded, so as far as like the volunteers getting over there, we come from all over the world. I mean, after doing this for 7 years, we've gotten people from all parts of the world. One of our surgeons is from Hong Kong. We have a group from Norway that comes, a surgeon from Norway, and he's brought us. We had an anesthesiologist from Switzerland. I'd say about half of us come from the U.S., and we're from the Denver, Boulder area.
Mm-hmm.
As far as getting over there and getting, taking the time away and getting transportation and lodging and all that, self-funded, so we pay our own way.
Okay.
As far as getting the equipment and money for the medicines and all the medical mission type workable stuff, we have fundraisers. We have one, sometimes 2 fundraisers a year, along the lines of dinners. 1 year we did, or a couple of years in a row, we did this barbecue at one of the anesthesiologist's house, and we had a band there, and we roasted a couple of pigs on the smokers, and just had a great big party, and it was fun, and at the same time we made money. So we gain money by private donors that way. We have a website that we try to solicit funds from that. We also get grants from corporate organizations. SCL, which is the Sisters of Charity in Leavenworth, that is the main owners of the hospital that I work at, and also does the Good Sam Hospital in Boulder. They are funders of us, so they give us a grant every year. And DaVita, which is a medical company that's based out of Denver, has also been really wonderful in giving us a grant. Medtronics has given us a grant. So it's, we have an executive director, and we have a financial board member that does kind of our financial fundraising, and that's their job, is to go out and see what kind of grants match what we want. We apply for those grants, and most of the time we don't get them, but sometimes we get them. So
right? Yeah.
That's why it takes all year. Even though the mission is only, the 10 days that we're over there, it's the other 355 days that we're working to make this thing happen.
Right.
So, and it's a concerted effort. It doesn't all fall on me. Everyone's got their little cog, and that's how all the cogs are working at the same time, and it comes together. And I'm amazed every year when it happens. It's so rewarding. People think, oh, you're doing such good, and I have to tell them, I get a lot out of it too. So it's fun. It's challenging. As I talked about that sense of camaraderie that I had in residency, we're all working for the same good. I find it again. It brings the fun back in medicine for me, because here I am working with all these like-minded people that are working together, and we come together once a year where I see my friends from Norway or Hong Kong or England or Switzerland, and we all come together like it's summer camp, And
right.
So for me,
right.
there is the altruistic part of it, but there's also the selfish part that I have fun doing it, and I enjoy it. So there's a part that I get to have for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the discussions that we've had in the podcast, and part of the mission of this podcast, is to show how folks in medicine how they are enjoying medicine, how they're bringing their passion to medicine, and how they're making their lives better through either the practice of medicine or helping other physicians with their practice. And you really speak to that with your experience, that it can get to be where, and you hear it so often, whether you're talking to other physicians or whether you're reading something in Medscape or Kevin MD, or, you can read these blogs where they're just like, well, medicine sucks because of EHR, like electronic health records, or we're overburdened, or the insurance, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that, what you're really speaking to is creating for yourself something that is deeply meaningful.
So, when you told me that you're doing this, you're starting your work of the kind of the burnout stuff for physicians, and I thought, oh my God, I'm glad someone's doing that, because I do feel like it is a real big issue. And, we get such great people that want to go into medicine. The hours are long, and there is so much time away from family, but most everyone I know that goes into it has developed a love for it. But most everyone I know also gripes about the hours and the pay and all the paperwork that's going along with it, or electronic medical records that you talk about, and everything's changing, and we don't know where it's going to go. But if you keep it just to basics and keep on remembering what you came into medicine for, then I think that does help. So I love the work that you're doing. I think it's really necessary, and I think that people need to step back and see how they can make medicine work for them. And if it's not working for you, and you're working too hard and you're not enjoying it, then you got to do something about it to make it enjoyable again, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's as we've discussed in other podcasts, and in the discussion in Burnout in general, that there's two components to it. There's kind of an individual component, and then there's an organizational component. And that's in the research. I was actually at a meeting over last weekend where Tate Shanafelt, who's one of the primary researchers, he's at Mayo, and he and his group have done extensive research on physician burnout and have found that to be true. And I can't overemphasize the importance of this individual component, which is where I help other docs, is how can you shape your life so that medicine can stay a part of it, or if you decide, medicine as in clinical medicine, or if you decide that that's not that part of it, then you can make that decision with clarity. And another piece of what I was going to add too is that in Dr. Shanafelt's research, they found that despite all of the things that people gripe about, they had found that if you can have only, and it kind of speaks to how doctors are and how willing we are to give up the comforts of life, so to speak, that they're saying that if the doctor can do only 20% of what they love to do. So whether that's 20% of, seeing a specialty patient, or 20% like, in the anesthesia, say like OB, 20% OB or 20% kids or whatever. For most doctors, that's enough, only 20%. How do you think your work with Mending Faces, how does that translate back to, your daily work, where it can be admittedly kind of a grind, or it just depends on the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I kind of spoke to this before, I think what Mending Faces has done for me is it has put the fun back in medicine. And you speak to the 20%, like I said, this is only, going on the mission is only, 10 days out of the year, but there's still the same group of people that help me organize this that live here in Denver, Boulder area. And so I'd say, weekly we're working on it and having to talk and come to meetings once a month. And so I feel like the rest of the time that we're here stateside organizing it, I still feel like we're a team.
I want to commend you on the work that you guys are doing. It's amazing work, and I really appreciate that you guys are doing this, and that you had time to talk with me about it today. Let's see if we can mobilize some assistance for you guys. So what kind of assistance are you looking for for Mending Faces?
Sure. Well, the biggest thing that of course, any nonprofit, we need funding. So, the biggest thing we can do is get the word out there. We rely mostly on private donors, even though we do have a few grants, but mostly it's private donors that send in $10, $50. It takes, we've done the math, and $250 can change a child's life. That pays for a surgery for one child. If anyone is so inclined, they can go to our website, which is www.mendingfaces.com. .org. Mendingfaces.org.
Mendingfaces.org. Okay.
Yeah, and we're a 501c3 organization, so of course everything is tax deductible. We do seem like we have a need for ward nurses. I'm putting a shout out there for anybody that enjoys doing pediatric nursing, post-op care. Right now we do have 2 speech therapists. They are Norwegian. I certainly would love to be able to see if we can get a speech therapist that's stateside, meaning United States, that would be willing to come out and help us get post-operative speech therapy going. Currently we have enough anesthesiologists and enough surgeons, but you never know. We would like to get support from everyone, and, as people drop out or can't make it or have other commitments, we like to be able to draw from a pool of people that would be able to take a week off, which is usually in January every year, and help us out in our medical mission. All of our emails are on the website.
Okay.
Myself and my executive director, if you get a hold of either me or her, then we can get you to the right people, how to, in contact with the right resources and any literature that you may need if anyone's so inclined to want to do a fundraising event in their city, and get the word out. And, this is a grassroots organization, so it really takes people at the individual donor level and people that are willing to, like I said, get the word out. Just at the grassroots level, it starts at $1.
Well, I love it. And Dr. Mimi Wong, such an amazing person.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And it just warms my heart to hear how you were able to bring the fun back into your medical practice, not by going on vacation. And, I know that you do all those things too, but how you're an example of how actually digging deeper into service can actually revitalize your medical career. I mean, in terms of giving it more purpose and meaning and longevity. So
and love and
love, of course.
The love of medicine that we all, I'm sure, at some point got into this for. I'm sure each and every one has gone into it.
So it's so many ways to approach the stresses and dealing with the stresses that physicians encounter on a day-to-day basis, and of course there's self-care and there's making sure that our relationships are great and getting exercise and sleep and all that stuff. And it may seem like a paradox to give more to get more, but that is actually a secret.
That's very well put. Yeah, you do have to sometimes give more to get more. It's just in different ways.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again.
Thank you, Diane.
From mendingfaces.org.
I enjoyed talking to you. I enjoyed talking to Diane. Good to hear your voice again. So, come to Denver. Yeah. Come visit.
Sounds good. And thanks, everybody, for listening to the podcast today. Until the next time, I hope everyone remains happy and healthy. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
You've been listening to the Doctor's Life Podcast with Diane Ansari Win, MD. Go to www.dianeansari-win.com to read show notes, listen to past episodes, share your comments and show ideas, and pick up your free PDF and video of easy and proven strategies that will melt your daily stress away. That's www.dianeansari-winn.com.